Hello everyone, welcome back to Mr. Twilight, where we dive deep into real horror stories, spine-chilling mysteries, and tales that might have you checking every corner of your house before bed. Today, I'm going to recount 3 terrifying true stories shared directly by the victims themselves during interviews. These are experiences so disturbing that the people who lived through them never want to live alone again. And I bet you'll get chills just hearing them. Get ready, these stories are seriously scary, and I've dug deeper to bring out every gruesome, unsettling detail. Let's dive in. Story 1, The Man in the Hidden Passageway. Our first story comes from Georgia. This is a tale about something not quite human lurking in the shadows, waiting for you. Hannah briefly shared her terrifying experience in a rental house through a post on X. After contacting her and learning the full story, what she described sent chills down my spine. Back in 2019, Hannah had just moved to Georgia to work at a local history museum. She loved old houses, especially ones with stained glass windows. So when she found a 2-story 19th century house renting for half the price of similar homes in the area, she thought she had hit the jackpot. The landlord, an elderly man with a deep voice, told her the house had been vacant for years because it was hard to find the right tenant. Hannah didn't think much of it. She signed the lease and moved in, excited and optimistic. She recounted, the first few days, the house seemed normal, except for a strange musty smell, like something was rotting inside the walls. I figured it was just the age of the place and ignored it. But on the 5th night, I woke up to the sound of footsteps. Not on the floor, but from inside the wall. It sounded like someone pacing in a tight space, slow and steady, sometimes stopping like they were listening. I searched the whole house but found nothing. The footsteps returned every night, always at exactly 3 a.m. Then came the whispers, a deep, raspy male voice calling her name. Hannah, come out. She locked her bedroom door tight, but the voice still echoed, as if he stood just on the other side. Hannah tried to brush everything off, but one night, she heard scratching, followed by a low, rasping laugh, both terrified and curious. She decided to investigate. Inside a closet, buried behind a pile of old clothes, she discovered a loose wooden panel. Behind it lay a narrow, pitch-black passageway. The walls were claw-marked, deep, jagged gouges that looked like they came from long, sharp nails. With a flashlight in hand, Hannah stepped into the passage. She had only gone a few meters when the light flickered out. Then she felt it, a freezing breath on the back of her neck. A sharp, clawed hand raked her shoulder. She screamed, bolted out of the crawl space, and slammed the closet shut. In the mirror, she saw 3 bleeding gashes across her shoulder, like an animal had attacked her. After that night, the house turned into a nightmare. Every night, she saw a tall man in a black coat standing in the corner of her room. He had no face. He never moved, but I could feel him watching me. Once I woke up and he was hovering over me, his breath reeking of death. He whispered, "You belong to me." Hannah fainted. When she came to, the closet door was wide open and a bloody trail dragged across the floor. In a torn-up old journal she later found, Hannah read that the house once sheltered a notorious prison escapee in the 1920s. He had murdered several people, hiding their bodies in secret passageways before dying in a police standoff. Hannah called the police, but when they arrived, the passage was gone. The closet looked perfectly normal. Yet, as she packed to move out, she discovered something chilling, a Polaroid photo inside her suitcase of her sleeping, while a faceless man stood beside her, holding a rusted dagger. "I swear I still hear the footsteps in my dreams, and sometimes I see his shadow in the dark," she said later. "I found posts from other former tenants. They, too, reported hearing footsteps and seeing a faceless figure. One even found a bloody, antique knife in the closet. No one knew where it came from. I don't know if it's a ghost or something worse." Hannah said, But that house is a gateway to hell. But her story haunts me. What do you think? If you ever hear footsteps behind your walls, don't open anything. Just leave. Story 2, the radio that screamed my name. All right. The second story comes from Detroit. And if you've ever thought an old radio was harmless, this one might make you want to smash any device that turns on by itself. To this day, Marcus won't listen to jazz or touch anything vintage again. Marcus, a 31-year-old musician, moved to Detroit in 2021 to chase his musical dreams. He found a surprisingly cheap apartment in Midtown through an online ad. It was spacious, fully furnished, with exposed brick walls and large windows overlooking the city. Perfect for songwriting and inspiration. Eager to settle in, Marcus signed the lease without asking questions. He recalled, "The apartment had this vintage radio, like from the 1950s, sitting on a shelf in the living room. It had no power cord, so I figured it was just decoration. Fit the artsy vibe perfectly. But on the first night, it turned on by itself around midnight, playing old jazz mixed with that static hiss of a mistuned station." Startled, Marcus checked it out. There were no buttons, no wires, no way it could possibly function. He threw the radio in the trash outside, but the next morning, it was back on the table. Marcus thought someone was pranking him, but he lived alone. His doors were always locked. "I tried smashing the radio with a hammer," Marcus said, "but every shard reassembled itself. Then it let out this twisted laughter, like a chorus of demons mocking me." One night, Marcus woke up to find the radio at the foot of his bed. The front panel flickered. Two glowing red orbs stared out from inside, locked onto him like eyes. After the radio reappeared, Marcus began to see her, the shadow of a woman in his apartment. Her long hair covered her face, her dress torn and dirty. She crawled across the floor with twitchy, unnatural movements, like a puppet yanked by invisible strings. "She came every time the radio turned on," Marcus said. "One night, I saw her crawl up the wall, her head twisted backward, grinning with black, rotting teeth. I fainted. When I woke up, my arms were covered in scratch marks, as if she had touched me." Desperate, Marcus cut all the power to his apartment. But the radio kept playing. Now, it wasn't just static and jabs. It carried sobs. Digging into the apartment's history, Marcus found something horrific. In 1963, a young jazz singer, known for her enchanting voice, had been murdered by her jealous boyfriend right there in the living room. Next to her body was her prized possession, that same vintage radio. Neighbors claimed that after her death, jazz music still played from the unit, mixed with cries and screams. Some believed her soul had become trapped inside, or worse, that she possessed it. Marcus contacted a priest for an exorcism, but when the priest touched the radio, it shrieked, an ear-splitting scream. Blood seeped from its seams. Then, Marcus saw her again. She crawled out of the radio. Her nails scraped the floor, and she whispered, "You'll sing with me forever." That was it. Marcus fled the apartment, leaving everything behind, including his favorite guitar. But the nightmare didn't end there. Weeks later, he received a package. No return address. Inside was a broken piece of that same radio. I don't know what that thing is, but it doesn't want me to leave. I'm afraid that one day she'll find me. Would you dare keep an old radio in your home? Let me know in the comments. Story 3. The Children in the Mirror. Our final story comes from Boise, and when I interviewed Aisha Patel over the phone, she was still crying as she recalled the terrifying events she experienced. Aisha, a journalist, bought a small house in the Boise suburbs in 2022 after a recent promotion. The house had 3 bedrooms, a large backyard with fruit trees, and was listed at just 6% of market price. It felt warm, charming. Aisha thought it was the perfect place to start a new chapter in life. But on her first night, things took a chilling turn. I heard children laughing in the backyard. She said, like they were playing tag. I figured it was the neighbors' kids. But when I looked out, the yard was empty. The laughter returned every night. Then Aisha began seeing something in the living room mirror. 2 children, a boy and a girl, holding hands. Their eyes were solid white, with no pupils, and their smiles were twisted, unnatural. I turned around. No one was there. Each morning, she found tiny handprints smeared on the mirror. One night, she woke up to find the 2 children sitting silently on her bed. They whispered, "Play with us." She turned on the light, and they vanished. But where they had been, the mattress was stained with child-sized footprints. I don't think they were really children, Aisha said, her voice trembling. Soon, she began having strange, recurring dreams. In them, she was pulled into darkness through the mirror, surrounded by hundreds of glowing red eyes watching her. The 2 children led her into a charred room, where faceless figures screamed in anguish. Aisha tried to sell the house, but every real estate agent who visited left abruptly, saying something just felt wrong. Digging into the property's past, Aisha discovered the horrifying truth. The house had caught fire in 1989. 2 siblings, a young boy and girl, died in their bedroom when the flames spread too quickly. Since then, neighbors had occasionally seen children playing in the yard, but sometimes they were smiling in a way that made people uneasy. I think they're still here, Aisha told me, and they want someone to stay with them forever. This story chilled me to the bone. In a final effort to reclaim her home, Aisha invited a psychic to perform a cleansing ritual. But the moment the ceremony began, the large mirror in her living room shattered, exploding into a rain of jagged glass. And then came the worst night of all. Aisha was asleep when she felt small hands tighten around her throat. Gasping for air, she opened her eyes and saw the 2 children crawling out of the mirror on her ceiling. Their heads were twisted backward, their mouths wide open, filled with jagged, blackened teeth. They dragged me toward the mirror, she said, and inside it, I saw a black void filled with hundreds of glowing red eyes. Screams echoed everywhere, like 1,000 souls being tortured. She fought back, broke free, and ran from the house barefoot. But as she escaped, she felt their nails dig into her back, leaving burning claw marks that scarred her skin. Though she now lives in a new apartment, the haunting didn't end. Every time I look in a mirror, she whispered, I still see them behind me. Whispering my name, I looked through X and found several posts from people who once visited Aisha's former house. One mentioned seeing a mirror ripple like water. Another said they heard children laughing, despite the house being abandoned for months. That house isn't just haunted, Aisha said. It's a gateway. One no living soul should ever enter. Sometimes, a cheap house hides a deadly secret. And sometimes the mirror looks back. Would you dare look into a mirror at midnight? Let me know in the comments. So, we've just explored 3 terrifying true stories about suspiciously cheap rental homes. The experiences of Hannah, Marcus, and Aisha serve as chilling reminders that sometimes the most familiar places can hide the darkest horrors, waiting to pull you into the shadows. If you enjoyed this video, drop a comment and share any scary stories you've heard or lived through. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me keep creating more spooky content for you all. Thanks for watching, and remember, be careful when you see a shadow in the mirror. Stay spooky. Bye-bye.